a while, had to take some time off, had to get my mind right. And what better way to get my mind right and bring about a new era of the TakeCast than with my friend Peter Overzet. We do this show generally every year. It is January 27th when we are recording this, but Pete, January 27th is not too late for a resolution, because that's the key about resolutions is when you make them too time bound, it then becomes too easy to give up on them. If you say, if I don't achieve this goal by X date, and then you're halfway to that date and you haven't made significant progress most of the time, you just end up giving up. That's kind of one of the interesting things about goals. So January 27th, actually a very appropriate time, because there's nothing magical about January 1st that makes you a better person.
Yeah, and we had talked, we last year, and I think the previous years, we have done it closer to January 1st, but people have their arbitrary deadlines, or arbitrary start points. People do like the January 1st. At least for us, things will wind down a little bit. For me, the arbitrary endpoint is after the Super Bowl, February 1st. This week is my first week of I have space clearing up. And the one thing I didn't want to do was just throw these resolutions out quickly that I wasn't actually going to stick to. And I actually wanted to have some time to really think them through, come up with a game plan. And one thing we've talked about in previous years too, I don't love the word resolution so much as these are the habits I want to build. This is instead of just saying this pie in the sky thing of this is what I want to do, I'm what is actually the way I make that a reality and make it feasible on a day-to-day basis?
100%. I mean, this is a very common talking point right now. There was a super viral article on Twitter a couple weeks ago, rework everything in your life in a week or whatever, which I think is a lot of that stuff is mostly slot posting, and you don't need to read it or engage with it. But what you will find about habits, what I found in my own life and what researchers find all the time, is that goals generally are not a great way to structure becoming who you want to be. The way you get there is through habits, but the idea should be instead working towards a person that you want to be. Okay, if this is the person that I want to be, view myself that way in my head. What would that person do on a daily basis? What would that person do on a weekly basis? What would that person do over the course of a year? And I mean, you can get that stuff from pop psychology. You can go read Atomic Habits by James Clear, which I think is literally the widest selling book in the English language other than the Bible over the last 10 years or whatever. Or you can get more nerdy with it, and you can read or you can listen to Huberman or whatever. But that is just basically the way that it works. That if you want to change your life, you have to become a different person. It's really unlikely. It's very hard for humans to silo. If you're kind of just a normal person who just watches a lot of TV and is man, I really want to lose some weight, I really want to do this. It's very hard to silo and become really disciplined in that one area of your life, but then remain undisciplined and unmotivated in a lot of other areas.
Yeah, and we're gonna each kind of share some of our and we might define them differently, whether it's a resolution, a goal, a habit we want to build, something we want to do differently. But whatever word you want to use for that kind of stuff, almost all of mine are just tweaks or additions, or being a little bit more rigid and disciplined with things I already do or I'm in the ballpark. And it is really hard to start something cold turkey that you've never done before. And I've actually even heard James Clear use an example of this guy who he had heard about, who
go to the gym for 5 minutes.
Yeah, go to the gym for 5 minutes. And I love that story because it is so true of just getting in the habit of doing something consistently. And then everything else becomes easier, because it is the mental block of being oh man, how am I going to get an hour? And it's don't even start there. It will come naturally by inertia and momentum once you have the hardest part in place.
100%. So Pete has 5 goals. I have 4. We've kind of done this in a different format every single year, but because the math of it is just going to work out, Pete's going to start. We're going to talk about that, and we're going to cycle our way through. We both have physical goals, mental goals, and content-related goals. The content-related goals might not apply to you guys so much, but this is also just something I've been thinking about, and this is just a good platform to get it out there. The idea that the only things in your life should be the thing that you work on, right? So like I leave my house and I go to work, or go to my office and I go to work every day, and then I have like my leisure time. I think that society would be a lot better off if people had like a third thing, like a passion or a goal or whatever. So maybe there's
Yeah.
something in your life, whether it be like, oh, I want to get my handicap down, or I want to, I don't know, take a art wine class with my wife where we go and pay, whatever it is. I think it would be really, it's just something to think about. Like you can create things that don't directly bring you money. But Pete, you can go ahead and start with your first.
Yeah. Which one, which
Let's do our
discipline?
physical goals
Yeah.
first, because I think people that's should it's of the genre. I think that's what people are expecting
Yeah.
to hear.
So my first one at last year, one of mine was to do more yoga, and I was successful in that. Like I paid for a membership to a yoga gym, which compelled me to get my value out of that. And I would say I went on average, like 1.5 times a week. There were some weeks where I didn't get there twice, some weeks in the off season where I got there more. So I felt good about that. But one thing I want to build on this year is I want to do more training that's like mobility based, like even more functional stuff. I did a lot of yoga. I did a lot of lifting this year. And even just, I've been thinking about things through this lens of like practicality. Like I'm rolling on the floor playing with April, and I'm like crawling through tight spaces, and I'm like feeling all of these parts of me that aren't as mobile that I want to be. And yoga's been good, but it hasn't gotten me all the way there. And so I think there's this stigma too with like, oh, you can't do mobility training and do it like in a way where you get a good workout or whatnot. And I've been like reading up on it and watching some more videos. And it's like something I want to incorporate into my workouts even more, of like blending the flexibility stuff with like actual, strength based mobility stuff. And so I'm going to be trying to find some programs, tweaking my programs, and really making that part of like my regular lifting and exercise.
So there's a lot of that stuff that exists. I don't do any of that stuff because I'm like doing like full like powerlifting style strength training when I'm training.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm not training as much right now because I'm not sleeping as much and taking care of a new infant and stuff. But Ido Portal, if you search this guy up and then you start to work your way down there, his whole deal is like movement culture. He's also insanely jacked, so there's something there, like plyometrics and
Yeah.
and all that stuff. I would think like kettlebells, like any kind of like kettlebells, like you could get some crazy heavy kettlebells for that. So like you could get like 50s, 70s, 80s and just be doing stuff with that. And you're going to work on like your trunk. Like it's going to help you quite a bit. Again, I don't do any of that stuff. I used to do the kettlebell stuff for golf, like mobility and fitness, but I haven't done any of that stuff in a long time.
And the thing for me, and this goes back to like not having something just be this pie in the sky thing. Like I've said to myself, like, oh, I want to like warm up a little bit more before I work out. And I never do it. And that's
Never
why I
do.
started doing yoga. And now I lift after doing yoga. Cause like that's my warm up. It's a forced warm up that I like actually do because I've, signed up for that. But with this mobility stuff, I know the only way it will work is if I actually have it as a line in the spreadsheet for my workout. And
Yeah.
like, right now I use why am I blanking on his name? Who's our guy?
Jeff Nippard, PPL.
Nippard, duh. Yes. I use the Nippard programs. And so I'm thinking I'm either going to have to like basically modify it to add in these extra mobility things that I want, but I'm going to have to write them down. And that's going to be my goal, is to add these all the way into this program. And that way it's non-negotiable. It's there as a line item, just like the other stuff with bench and squats and everything else. And that's, I know, the tweak I have to make to actually get it done. I can't just say I'm going to do more mobility. I will not do it unless it's an item I'm checking off like the other exercises.
I mean, that is just like a larger about the science of making goals. Like if your goal is, oh man, I'd like to start running more, that's not a goal. It's not specific. You'll give up on it. It's just not going to happen. Like if the idea is like, so mine is, I have like a bum elbow right now that I'm working through.
Yeah.
And when it's really, really bothering me, when I go to the gym, I'll remember to do my stretches and my exercise and stuff. But like for like the last week, it hasn't really been bothering me. So I haven't been doing my stretches, haven't been doing it because it's not in my program. It's not written in there. And I woke up this morning and it was like killing me. And I was like, yeah, well, no shit. it's killing you because you just haven't want to do it because it's boring. It's not as fun. It's not fun to take a little 5 pound weight and do like little like clenching exercises. And it's not that fun to stretch. And it's, it's more fun to put weight on the bar. So my top physical goal, and this is one that is going to sound lame to a lot of people who are good at running, but mine is just to run a half marathon and then
Nice.
everything that entails in that. Because one of the things that I'm realizing as being a dad is like your overall time is just limited. Like, okay, I'm gonna get dressed. I'm gonna drink my pre-workout. I'm gonna go to the gym. I'm gonna warm up. I'm gonna lift. I mean, I've deleted like an hour, 90 minutes, 2 hours sometimes that a lot of the times I'm not really gonna have. But for a run, I can put my shorts on, put my shoes on, get outside the front door and start running. When I run, historically, I've just always gotten hurt every time. I mean, like hamstring, ankle, whatever. I don't really have a runner's body. I don't really have a runner's gait. I don't really like to run. And I have like pacing problems and stuff. So I have a program that I downloaded. It's free. Anyone could do. I mean, if you just Google or Chat GPT or whatever, like Couch to 5K, Couch to Marathon, there's a lot of like really good, like very basic, like this is not rocket science, right? Anyone can do this. Anyone can run, anyone can jog, but it does require you to get up and go do it. And it's just so much more economical for my time. I can take my dog with me too. My dog obviously has gone further down the hierarchy list. Now that I'm a dad, I can't hang out with her like 3 hours a day anymore. And that's something I can go and do with the dog. Habit stacking. There's your James Clear Atomic Habits. We can get that done together. Do I like running? Do I get a huge release out of it? Not really. Am I good at it? Not really. But it's the sort of thing. And you should be building. Hey man, I'm 33. I'm getting old. I should be building my aerobic strength and my VO2 max and all that stuff anyway. So that is mine.
So it's interesting you mentioned the thing about time, because I definitely know what you mean with like, one of the reasons I had to do like the home gym stuff is because I was like, I'm literally spending 50 minutes just driving to and back from the gym. And like, I'd rather
100%.
spend this time doing other things. But the one thing that's always prevented me from doing like the longest runs I'll do when I'm doing cardio, like I don't think I've ran more than 5 miles in a long time, is partly because of that thing of like when you are doing training runs, more so for a marathon, but even a half marathon, like you're going to have some 8-9 mile training runs. Like those can
I
take
probably
a while.
when I get to be able to do 6-7 miles and it's just like no sweat, I'm probably just gonna go and do it.
Yeah. Okay.
And deal with the consequences because who needs to run it? If you can run 7 miles, you can run 13 miles.
Yeah. But the point I was going to make that always has prevented me from like doing longer running training
Time.
was the time where I'm like, okay, this run might take me like an hour and a half or something. And now like, most of my workouts I do in like 35 to 45 minutes. And
Yep.
so how are you thinking about that? Like when you're initially starting out, that it still could be a pretty big time commitment to train.
Well, I guess maybe this is stupid, maybe this is short-sighted, but the idea of the goal, the end goal of running the half marathon, I don't care about. I don't care
Of
how
course.
fast I don't care how fast I do it. I don't care if I do it by myself. I don't care if I sign up for one. The goal is to be the type of person who has the body who can run a half marathon, who can physically do it, to have the aerobic strength of someone who can do it, to have the muscle tendons, all that who can do it.
Mhm.
So if it gets to be July and it just looks like it's not going to happen, and I'm just the type of person who runs 10 cumulative miles in a week, that's totally fine by me. But the easiest way to do the training is to put the specific goal on it so that I
For
know what
sure.
I'm working towards. If the goal was I just want to be someone who runs more, I just wouldn't do it. It just wouldn't
Right.
happen.
So
Yeah.
have you signed up for an event?
I've not signed up. I'm gonna float it to a couple of my buddies here and see if anyone wants to do it with me. And if there's one that works out, then I will.
So it's funny because my second one like perfectly dovetails with yours. And I had mentioned this last year. I think we recorded the video and then I wrote where I was like, I want to have some kind of specific thing to train for. Like I've stopped playing rec sports in forever. I basically just am self-motivated for working out, but like there's part of me that wants some level of competition, some kind of thing. Even back when we were doing the stuff with Laird in that the 612, and now I'm butchering it with the masturbation challenge. No, I mean the challenge where it was pull-ups, quarter mile, and in push-ups. But like that gave me some like juice for a little while of like, oh, let me see if I can get close to, you know, what Laird does. And I came up short last year. I was like, initially I was like, should I try to set a goal to run a sub 20-minute 5K, which I hadn't done since high school. And then I'm like, I just don't enjoy running enough to do this. But I think I've finally found a thing. And what I'm going to sign up for probably late summer, early fall is a high rocks competition. Have you heard of those?
So one of my buddies here did the High Rocks competition here.
Nice.
He and his girlfriend did it. Yeah. So I am pretty familiar. It's hard work. I did through like half of their program with them, and I was like, this shit can kick rocks. I'm not doing this.
Yeah, and I like it. So for people who aren't familiar, it is like a standardized fitness race. And I think it started in Germany, but there's like 8 functional workouts, and it's like the skier, there's a sled, push pull, there's burpees, there's rowing, there's a farmer's carry, there's lunges, wall balls, and then there's a run in between each of those. So it kind of is like how I like to train in general, but this will give me like a very specific thing to train for. And I think it'll just be fun to like, you can go and see what an elite time is, what like a solid time is, and kind of have some goals. You can go out and test it yourself and kind of see what you're at a baseline. And so kind of in the same vein as you with the half marathon, there's the big one in Boston, I believe in mid-September. And I think I'm just going to YOLO sign up for it and just be like, all right, figure it out. Like between now and then, like get into shape for this. And I just want something to be a little more competitive about and just have that in the back of my head. Cause it's just easier. Like same with you. Like if you don't have the marathon, you're just like not going to become a runner. Cause it's just easy to be like, I don't need to do it. And so kind of, I just want the motivation of something to compete for.
I mean, honestly, my guess is like, that's not hard enough for you, really. Like, I think you could probably go through a High Rocks workout tomorrow and like, it would suck, but you could do it.
Well, no, absolutely. But it's the time element. It's like you see these guys who are absolutely shredded, who do it in sub hour times or whatever the kind of the elite times are. And the same thing happens. Yes, there are people who do the marathon stuff and say, I just want to finish. But then it's like, okay, I want to do it sub 4 hours. And now I want to do it sub 3.5 hours. So I'm going to do a pilot run, and I think there are some gyms by me that actually have everything where I can easily go time this and get like a base level time. And then there's also something too, and this happens in a race as well. Like there is energy from having other people around you, like going to run 13 miles by yourself versus with a throng of people and people cheering on the side. It's like completely different. So I'm excited about that aspect as well.
It's very cool to do anything with a crowd. It is very cool. So I guess mine is physical. It dovetails, maybe physical and mental. Mine is I'm gonna track my calories and my macros for a whole year. Because generally what I've done in the past, I'm kind of actually very much like our friend Soccer Dave in this. I can crash diet with the best of them. I can crash and then I put it back on and then it doesn't become a habit. But the habit of tracking calories and macronutrients, even if you're not going for any specific goal, even if you're like, I'm at maintenance, or even if I'm like, I don't care, I'm going to a holiday party, it's Christmas, whatever, I'm on vacation, whatever, it doesn't matter. And when I'm going from not tracking to then tracking, it just like the first week of it, I'm like, fuck, this is so goddamn annoying. I pulled my phone out and I typed the thing in, and then now it's January 27th. So I've probably been doing this for 3 weeks or almost a month now. And it's just, I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm eating something and now I'm tracking it. Right. I wanted to go get a handful of almonds. All right, bang, whatever. It's in the app. I want to eat an apple. It's in the app. When you're like, I'm like loosely cutting right now. And so it most of the apps are very smart and they know Like you're just add yesterday's breakfast, add yesterday's lunch. Like I had an egg white omelet for lunch and the macros were already in there and it took me 7 seconds to do it. And it just becomes part of the habit, part of the routine where I'm like, every time I sit down to eat, I know that I'm going to track the thing. And I've found that, so one of my big resolutions from last year was I am going to do a much better job of learning French. French was the language that I took in college. I took 4 semesters of it. Felt like a huge waste to lose all of that knowledge. And I don't speak it very well. I can read it better than I can speak it. But actually, it's very funny. Literally this morning at the gym, I just hit 365 days on my Duolingo of doing
Nice.
French in a row, which is cool. But it's literally just the habit. It just puts you into thinking
Yep.
about it and doing it. And it is unbelievably yeah, it's just building the habit, and you'll
Well,
see the stress effects downstream.
well, and there's also an element of it that dovetails with one of Clear's thing about if you're trying to break a habit, like creating friction to it. And like if you think about the friction, and again, if you've never counted calories, if people haven't done this, I do recommend doing it. I did it for like a month last year just because I like really, when I was really dialed in, I just kind of like wanted it as some guardrails. It is annoying to go and do it to the point you say, I'm not going to go have a
I'm not gonna
handful of
eat.
this candy
I'm not gonna go put this in the app.
because it's so annoying to have to go and log it. So if you build the habit that I'm going to log everything I eat and you're able to get that going, you will seriously not snack as much. You won't be one out of like embarrassment. Like, I don't want to fucking log these Hershey's Kisses right now, but also because it's like, I just don't want to pull this out and type this and do this. And I actually, there are like AI generated calorie tracking stuff. Don't do it because you want the friction of having to like manually search for things and type
And they're
things.
not very good. I was using our boy Nippard's app, Macro Factor,
Yeah.
when I did it before. The friction on the Macro Factor app was too high for me. It was too annoying. It was too much information, too much
Yeah.
in there. And so that's actually, I gave up on calorie tracking last year because I was like,
Yeah.
this is too annoying. One of the things being the AI thing never got it right. So
Yeah.
I use Lose It, which is like
Okay.
$40 for a year, like no bells and whistles. It has a calorie tracker, a macro tracker, and like you can log your weight and stuff in it. Not a paid sponsorship, although if they want to reach out, hit me up. But yeah, the friction is like it's actually unbelievable how much friction
It,
there is in it.
and the process of doing it, it's such a good skill to build up because it just one, it helps you be more mindful about what you're doing. And it also just gives you kind of the ballpark figures of like, say when you are out, or and not that you're tracking this on vacation, but like say you're traveling or something like this and you don't want to be quite as rigid. It's still, you kind of will have the baseline understanding of like, hey, this is my usual calorie expenditure if I'm like within this range. It just like is so nice to kind of know, as opposed to it feeling like a black box, which kind of like if you're just eating and doing it mindlessly, it can feel like this just completely big thing that you can't wrap your head around or understand. I just think it really helps focus you on that element.
I mean, just if anything else, you just will act, if you've never done it before, you will just actually learn the calories in food.
It, that's what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
like you'll be like, oh, how many like right now, if you listening to this, answer in your head, how many calories in a slice of pizza? You wouldn't even be able to get, and it might be less than you think.
yeah.
It really might be just, you just have no idea.
And again, one thing that helped me is it, I think in like a healthy way, it became kind of like a fun game for me because the last thing I would eat every night would generally be like my creamy mix that I made. And that was like my dessert. And I knew like how many calories I had left to spare. And
Yep.
depending on that, could like make my mix in more fun or a little bit more plain. And it was just a fun like gamification of like, oh my gosh, I can put like 2 Reese's into my creamy tonight. And that became a fun element of it for me.
This might be helpful to people, or maybe it won't be, but like sometimes I go over my calories allotted for a given day because
Sure.
I'm not like cutting for a bodybuilding competition or anything, but like I just want to know where I'm at. It's like sometimes I have a cheat meal, or like I went over to my in-laws for dinner last night and my father-in-law made chicken and dumplings. I was like, I'm not gonna not have a dumpling in my chicken and dumplings because I'm like, oh, it's like you really got to meet my goals for today. But like, you just got to get in the habit of knowing what you're eating. Okay, what is your next one?
Yeah, so those were my two like exercise related ones, and now I have two that are kind of mental, and one that I want to bring back. And you and I had actually done, I forget when we did a bet. Was that like during COVID? And meditation was part of it. And I have really slacked on it. Like I just hadn't
Same.
done it this past year. And so getting back a daily meditation practice is one of my big goals. And it goes back to that same thing of like, oh, you can say that, but what are the things you're actually going to do to make it happen? And one thing I've started doing in the past 2 weeks, and I hadn't been doing this forever, is like when I go in the sauna, I listen to music or a podcast or a book on tape or whatever. And I'm like, I just need to get back to making that also the meditation stuff because I love doing the sauna. So I know if I can pair it with that, that I'll always do it. Cause like I'm going to do the sauna probably 5 to 6 times a week. And so I'm going to get back to doing meditating in the sauna. But the thing is I want to make it a daily thing. And there are like a couple days a week where I don't get to it. And I have to figure out where do I build that habit of meditating otherwise. And when I had a really good meditation practice, it was before we had April. And like doing it in the mornings was so easy, but with a toddler now, like mornings are pure chaos. And like, I just can't find the time for it. And then like at night, I don't know, I'm generally like too tired for it.
I,
So like
I feel the
I have
same
to
way
find it.
about
Yeah.
about night meditation. Like it gets to be 6 o'clock. I'm like, brother, I'm not meditating. I'm going to bed. I'm going to
Yep.
sleep. Like I'm not wasting my lowered cortisol on that. So what's you're just gonna lock in for the sauna?
Well, I know that's the easy part for me now. Like I'm making that rule, like no more podcasts, no more music. I'm doing meditation. And I have the Headspace app, which is nice because again, I go to connect my Bluetooth speaker like as a Pavlovian response and I take my speaker in there. So I put the Headspace app on there. So that was like a good transition. But I honestly don't have a great answer right now for when to schedule meditation time that's not the sauna in a way that I can repeat it over and over and not let it go. Like that's what I have to work on right now.
That I don't have good advice for you because that's one of the things that I like always value in my life is meditating. And like right now I'm like, I don't see how I'm carving out that 10 minutes a day for sure every
Yeah.
time. Like I can get it some days, but I don't want it like I can't guarantee myself that there's going to be like that 10 minutes of solace where either like my baby doesn't need something or I'm in the middle of something with work or my wife needs something or I'm spending time with my wife and you know there should also I think there should be a limit to how like self-centered your goals are to some degree. Like obviously some of them should be self-serving, but also I mean at the layer of it like a lot of times you are trying to be self-serving so you can be a better person for the people in your life. But if you come up with an answer for that one, let me know because I have not I mean I for sure have not gotten a good meditation in since my son was born.
Honestly, like it sounds like a dumb thing, but if I'm really trying to think like how could I do it, it would be something where I tie it to it would have to be midday and it would probably be before or after, probably before a show that I do regularly. Like if I said, which would be very
Yeah.
funny considering the show, that I'm going to meditate every Tuesday at 11:45 p.m. Eastern before the Swolecast. Like, and just knowing that that's like part of my routine. And again, but I have to find a way to make it more daily. The thing that makes it tricky is like I don't often know the days I'm not going to do the sauna. Like sometimes things come up and I just don't get to it. So that's the part for me where it's like to get the habit to line up in a way where it's automatic is still kind of sketchy for me. But something like that where it is tied to a specific event that doesn't change each week is how I could do it.
Yeah, which is one of the hardest things about goal setting to begin with is when they are more floating because then by the nature of it being more floating, then it doesn't become a habit and then it feels it occupies this weird mental space where it becomes just another loop for you to close during the day.
Yeah.
And like it's all something we don't want, right? No one wants another goddamn loop to have to close.
And again, not to keep parroting back the James Clear stuff, but I think about his kind of heuristics a lot. He talks about something negative, creating friction, something you want to do, like making it attractive. What I'm at, and I assume you're the same way with working out, is I don't have to be as rigid with scheduling it because I chase that feeling of working out where I know like if I haven't gotten to it during the day or in a couple of days, like I'm like not happy. It like I want to go do it because it makes me feel good. And I'm kind of hoping that if I just do meditation like 4 to 5 times a week, that I will eventually want to chase that feeling and make it more natural where it's not even having to force it. It's just saying like, no, no, I like this so much in the same way I like doing the sauna so much that it's not even a question. It's just like something I'm going to do because it makes me feel good. And that's the part that comes with doing something over and over.
I mean, there is no more higher friction thing than getting yourself to start meditating after having not done it for a while. I can't
Part.
think of one. I literally cannot think of a habit that is harder to start. I really
And
can't.
because I don't know about you, but like right now, and again, I've been doing it for about the past week and a half after not doing it for a long time. I am bad at it. Like
So
I
bad.
I can barely count to 10 counting my breath because my brain starts wandering and I'm like, that's what it's demoralizing. It's the same thing for people who haven't worked out in a while. Like you go and it's like, oh, the weights feel heavy and I feel
Horrible.
stiff. It's not enjoyable. And that's where I'm at, where I'm like, I am bad at this right now. And that makes it harder to show up for something you know you're going to be bad at.
Yeah. Yeah. Like truly, truly miserable. Okay. So I have a big mental one.
Okay.
And I am not one of those people that ever has to do New Year's resolutions to read. I prefer reading to watching TV or watching YouTube or whatever. It just has always been the case. What I do very much fall a victim into though is I end up reading a lot of what would you? It's like not slop, but I end up reading like a lot of like plot driven books, I guess I would
Mhm.
say. I end up reading a lot of like detective stories. I've read every Hercule Poirot novel. I've read every Raymond Chandler, Philip Marlowe mystery. Like I end up reading a lot of that and it's really good and I can read them in like 3 days and then I can just get the next one in the series and I can just keep going. So my reading goal is not anything about total pages or anything, but I actually have a curated list of Western philosophy canon books that I have to read. It's 10 books. No one listening to this really cares, but it's very hard work. Like
Mhm.
I was sitting reading on the treadmill this morning, and I got through like about 15 pages of Soren Kierkegaard, Fear and Trembling, and I'm having to like stop and take notes, and I'm having to like Google references because that's the hard thing about reading really serious philosophy is not only are the words really big and they're confusing, but if you're someone like me who comes from the humanities, like I can get literary illusions, but in terms of like going back and being like, well, what does he mean referencing this argument that Heigl made or whatever? Like you'll to get to understand what you're reading, you have to do 100 other pages of backwards reading. So I have this a curated list of that and like I said, like it's for me sitting down and reading is honestly like not the same, but is of the same ease as like scrolling. Like I'll just pick up a book and sit down and start reading. And not that that is not valuable, but I want to get more serious reading done. So that's a big one for me this
Do
year.
you do you take any notes or do you engage with stuff in any other way other than reading it?
So, I have like a reading journal where like I can like write down like this is what this aphorism or this, 5-page chapter of this book made me think or this is what I think it's driving at. And then honestly, um this is something that is I mean, you could view this either way. This is something that is helpful about ChatGPT or Claude or whatever it is, but you can literally just go in and instead of like searching around academic papers to try and find what it is, the thing you just read, you can just search. Like I actually was just doing this morning. You can search like this specific 10-page stretch of Soren Kierkegaard. What do scholars say about this? What am I
Mhm.
supposed to be learning from this? What philosophy? What is he responding to in this? So just doing a lot of like because of course, everyone has this experience reading like a page turner, like reading like I don't know a Dan Brown book, where it's like, okay, you get done with it, and I have no idea what just happened in it, but I just finished it and I got through, and it was great and I was entertained, but it left no mark on me. So I'm trying to like actually like fully understand what I'm reading.
Yeah, and you know, one thing I would say too, and I forget who mentioned it to me when I started the book club a couple of years ago. They had like, you know, when you are starting a habit, like for you, you're further along in that. But if someone doesn't have a regular reading habit, you should start with something that's easy to read that you really like.
Yes.
Because again, you're just trying to get used to holding something physical and reading something that's
Oh,
not on your phone.
that's actually so I actually did literally make this list for people because it's a question I get a lot. It's like, man, I really want to start reading again. What should I read? And I always try and give things to people that are, you know, not that difficult to read, but that are like interesting and like makes you think to a big degree. So the number one book that I always tell people to start reading if they haven't read for a while and they want to get back into it is The Big Sleep by Raymond Chandler. It's like
Oh yeah.
very well written, like hot, like literary quality, but it's a murder mystery. It's a detective novel. Like you want to figure out what happens in the end, and you will like get to the end of this book and you will be like, oh, I liked that. Like I liked every part of that. I liked it made me feel smart because there were some cool words. It made me feel intrigued. I wanted to get to the end. There's also a movie of it. I've never seen the movie, but there's a movie of it. Like if you want to get done with it and you know, watch with your wife or your partner or whatever. So that's the that's really high. And then the other book that I always tell people to read is Life of Pi by Jan Martel, which again is just like pretty high literary quality, but like not too dense, and you can kind of take away from it whatever you want. And it's only like about 300 pages or so.
And I would say another good hack too is just like go find a nonfiction book about a topic you're really interested
You
in.
really like.
Yeah, like you can go find like basically biographies of any sports, you know, athlete that you're interested in. I'm sure there's some like, and that's just a good way to like kickstart the like, oh, this is gonna be an easy read, but just getting me in the habit of doing. And you know, that's one of the few things too of like some of the habits that I've started are now like going on 2 to 3 years, and they've helped kind of make some of these other things easier. And I've mentioned it before, but I've now gone 2 years without having my phone in my bedroom at all. I do not have it when I go to bed. I do not have it when I wake up. And so when I go to bed, like sometimes I need to wind down and I'm a little bored or whatever. That's when I'm reading my Kindle. Like I have my Kindle there. If I'm not exhausted, I'm reading that before bed, which has helped like 90% of my reading. It like takes place there. And I don't read that much. And I'm like falling asleep because I'm getting tired after 15, 20 minutes. And I've
Yep.
been reading with the newsletter like 10 plus books a year, literally just not scrolling on my phone at night. Like, and that's not like to brag, but it's just saying how much you can read, just like not having your phone for even 15 minutes of time each night. It'll kind of astound you on that. And yeah, so the other habit, and I don't have one for this, but I'm definitely going to keep it going, is I didn't have any alcohol at my house all of last year. You know, if I went out with friends or it was at my in-laws for a holiday or, you know, traveling, I definitely enjoyed myself. But just none in the house. And I think it was David Damron, who's a friend of the show. He suggested that, and I'm definitely going to keep that rolling because that's just been like such a good thing for me that I just kind of saved that for special occasions.
I mean, it's a really good one. The Huberman Bros would approve. There's a cultural war being fought over alcohol. They say Gen Z kids they don't drink, but I think that's just because Gen Z kids don't leave the house.
I know. Yeah. And I think I've mentioned this before that I do, and it's easier said than done, but I do feel like I'm probably a year or two away from being done with it altogether. I am not strong enough to make that switch right now, but I definitely want to keep moving in that direction, and not having any at the house has certainly helped.
You got to see. You got to become a Diet Coke, bro, because then you just have the alternative lit up. It's
No,
just
no,
always
that's
there.
that. I've done all that. Like I've done the non-alcoholic beers. I've gotten into making my own like seltzers and stuff like that. It's yeah, that's not the issue, finding the alternatives. It's just
Just
it's
Diet Coke, bro, is like a genre of guy, though. I don't know.
yeah,
It's
except
a
I grew up
secondary. It's a
with
secondary part of my agenda.
I grew up with a Diet Coke mom, and I will just forever have a very different association with Diet Coke. My mom and all of her sisters like drinking literally like cases of them throughout the week. So not for me, but I get
See,
it.
that's funny because I have a very different association because I never drank soda at all because I had like an almond mom. So I just never really drank soda until I got older. But the reason I started drinking Diet Coke was because David Foster Wallace drank Diet Coke in the long form Rolling Stone interview that then became the Jason Segel, Jesse Eisenberg movie, ending the
Yeah,
tour. He was drinking Diet Coke, like cases of it the entire time. And I was like, well, if he did it, then I should do it. And that's how that genre of drinking flat Diet Cokes on ship chasing began.
there you go. Um, okay, my next goal, I think this is my fourth one that is kind of in that mental health arena. And this is another one that I've gotten like halfway there, but I've realized what I need to do in the past like couple of weeks to get fully there. And so, like for me, my work day ends at 5 Eastern. That's when our childcare ends. That's when Lauren's off work, and we have our family time for basically like 2.5 hours, depending on if April took a nap. Of like this, we're gonna hang out, we're gonna do dinner, we're gonna do bath time, bedtime, story time, all of those things. That's like our time. And I've gotten like decent about leaving my phone downstairs and just not having that on me. Some things have come up though, like April wants to play music on the speakers, and so I have to go get that, and then I backslide into like checking some stuff on my phone, or I have my watch and I get a notification from someone who needs me, and I'm going to be, I think, more rigid, and I'm going to leave my phone and my watch down here during that time. And I'm going to get one of my old Android devices that's just going to have Spotify on it, because that's the one thing April will want, is to be able to play music on our speakers upstairs, and try to like hack this around where I can still do the things I need to do, but to completely have no notifications or distractions during that family time window, and keep that as like a sacred no phone time. That's like a really big goal that I have. And I know what I need to do to execute it, but I have not done that previously.
That's not on my roadmap yet. Uh, it's gonna have to get there. I mean, I honestly like I am open to advice on this, but starting in actually very soon, my wife is gonna go back to work, and I'm gonna be the childcare during the day. Like for my wife doesn't uh she's not gonna have to be gone for like 8 hours a day, but like from like 6 a.m. to noon or whatever, like it's gonna be me and Lil Bro. And that is just gonna be really interesting to like obviously he's a baby, so he's still sleeping a lot and like is not like fully locked in, but it will be a little bit interesting when he's more like 7, 8 months old and just like more aware of what's going on in the universe and like dealing with all of that. I don't know. I'm gonna have a lot to learn. But yeah, the phone thing with your child is there's just no way around it, man. It's just very tough to you have a box of infinite entertainment, all the information in the world, everything you need, everyone who needs you. And your child is there, and it's like actually is an insane thing.
And honestly, this is like for me, this is like for me, this isn't even like selfishly for like April. Like we're fortunate, like she barely does screen time. She does not have like an obsession. Like her favorite thing when we do have our phone, she likes seeing pictures of herself. That's like her one vice, of like she wants to go back and see the pictures of that we've taken of her. But no, like this is for me and like helping me be even more present. And I think I the reason it's kind of insidious is because like I found a way of like, the workarounds, whether it's like, oh, there's notifications on my phone, or like, oh, I have to go get my phone to do something for April, and now it's like up here, it like I've just made it too easy to slip in that regard. And but yeah, I think, for you too, and there's just like really different milestones for kids, obviously, once they start crawling, once they start talking, once they get way more active. And I actually find it easier to be like really present now, because like I'm constantly conversing with April and interacting with her. It's like more when they're like a baby and they're doing their own thing. There isn't like, that's when you're like, oh, I can like do something on my phone. It's not that big of a deal. It actually gets easier, I think, in a way, because it's just like you are their world. Like you are the person that everything is orbiting around. And it kind of makes it easier to just like lock in and be with them in that moment.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we're gonna find out. All right. So my big content one, like instead of like putting a number or anything crazy on it, this is actually really should have been done years ago. But specifically post NFL draft, so when content starts to become really important. Again, not that I don't love all of you guys who are out there grinding the big board and like dynasty stuff with me in February. In fact, you are my people. But starting in May, I'm going to have a content schedule that I'm live from this time to this time. You can find me from these hours to these hours. The video is going to come out this time on Saturday, this time on Sunday, and that's it. Because I've had like
Proud of you.
loose, like, oh, I do this, I do there, and I have some things that come out on a schedule or whatever. But starting in May, the all Davis Mattek branded fantasy football content is coming out on a schedule, which is tough to do, but is going to become more important as I add more variables into my life.
Yeah, I mean, I've been like that for a while, and like the alternative to that is like stressful to me. I mean, like you're in DMs with me when I'm trying to schedule shows. Like I want to get things scheduled. I want to get it on the books. Like I want to be able to plan my schedule. Like not having a schedule is what stresses me out. But I think you'll be very happy to make that switch.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think it's a little bit less about me, and certainly it is important for me and like structuring how I'm gonna have to live a life with greater responsibilities. I honestly think it actually is probably going to be more helpful for not like my core audience, not like the guys who are always there, like your Nick P's and your Purple Yoshas, like those guys are down to be there whenever they're around, but more like the guy who's never commented on a YouTube live stream before, but like is subscribed to my channel, kind of likes fantasy football, likes drafting on best ball. It's just like, oh, this is always on at this time. And so like I have the Pavlovian response of, oh, it's at this time, so I'm gonna click this thing.
Oh yeah, I mean, like so much of anything is just building up. So it becomes a routine for people. I mean, we're talking about habits for ourselves, but like content and consumption becomes a habit for people. In the same way people have your shows. Like if you're a Survivor fan and you're going to watch that every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, like that's just what you're going to do. Like the same thing happens for content. That's why I like, I would say other than what, maybe 4 to 5 weeks a year, maybe a couple more than that, like 10 a.m. Mondays, like I'm live. Like that's just always been the slot. And I think that's helped because now people just know, even West Coasters know, like, hey, 7 a.m., like there's something on here. So yeah, I think it will help your own organizational and scheduling stuff, but two, it'll also help grow an audience because, people know when the Swolecast too. Like if we miss one or whatever, they're like, hey, it's Tuesday at noon Eastern. Like this is when you guys do that show. Like I think it's very, very valuable.
Yeah, 100%. So there we go. That is
I had one of my content goal.
Yes. So those were my 4. You have your last one.
Yeah, mine is kind of I had mentioned this I think on After Dark the other night where it's like I feel like the past few years I've had some kind of off-season thing that I was focusing on. This past year it was the masterclass. 2 years ago it was the Deposit Kingdom channel. I went hard at that. 3 years ago was when I first streamed 150 drafts. And like this year, my big thing is I just want to get back to doing way more comedy videos. When I really pull back, it's the thing I enjoy doing
the most. You like to do.
And I have I do Best Ball Bros video every year, and I have a few things I do every year. But it's just gotten away from me a little bit, like with more responsibilities. And it's like, that mode of just pure comedy was what I was doing when I had my day job, and like any free time to making content was comedy focused almost exclusively. And so yeah, that's going to be my big resolution. And it might mean a little less streaming. It might mean, a little less of other stuff, but going to spend more time making stuff that I'm really excited to make. And it's what energizes me the most. And yeah, so I'm very excited about that. And it's going to be something I'm going to be consciously doing more of this year.
Well, hey, great news for me because I will be doing no comedy videos. And if anything, I will be doing more fantasy football, more best ball streaming. So more time for people to watch me draft 3,000 best ball teams. I guess that's a tertiary one. If it doesn't end up happening, it doesn't end up happening, and if life gets in the way. But I do want to draft the most best ball teams of anyone.
Well, I'm glad that my content goal, you could immediately make it about yourself, Davis. That does feel like a really nice way to end this stream.
I am nothing if who I am, Peter, and I'm not ashamed of who I am. Everything. I mean, think about it, man. Everything in your universe, you have no way of filtering it through anything other than your own perception, you know. But hey, it will also entertain me because I will watch every last little bit of Peter Overs at Best Ball Fantasy Football. There's really nothing more perfectly attuned for my taste than the combination of fantasy football and sketch comedy, because I really enjoy sketch comedy. Like I've gone on do you like the Almost Friday guys?
Yeah, they're good.
Yeah, this like it's so funny to me. Love it. But if anything, I need it to appeal even more to my micro niche taste. So I look forward to seeing what you're able to come up with.
Yeah, well, I mean, if we're going to need someone streaming 3,000 drafts to give us ideas of what to make fun of and spoof. So, you know, right back at you for thank you for your service as well, Davis.
Hey, look, if there's one thing that the best ball community is good at, they are always going to provide you new content to spoof. They like imagine all the things that are going to transpire between now and August when the Best Ball Bros video comes out. Like, you have no idea what you're going to make fun of, but you can be gosh darn sure there's going to be plenty of stuff to spoof.
We were drowning in it last year. It was every single week there was something new. And I wasn't in quite, you know, I'd write the overview jokes for the Swolecast. But no, this year the fodder is going to be used more. So I look forward to all of the mentally ill people in the best ball community who are going to help me generate ideas.
Yep, and there's new mental illnesses and new people joining the community every single day. All right, everyone, make sure you like the video, make sure you're subscribed to the channel, and Pete and I will be back with you whenever. Later.
Yeah, and one other thing I would just say, sorry, not to cut off your intro there. I'm going to write about these in the P.O. Box newsletter, and also keep like some of the book clubs and check-ins on this stuff. And Davis and I will do a mid-year check-in because I do like seeing how these things are going. So we'll be sure to keep people up to date on this stuff.
Yeah, and if you have any questions about books or whatever, feel free to tag me in the Deposit Kingdom or the Sloppy Central Discord, and I'd be happy to talk with you about books.
All right, now you can stick the landing. All right, peace, guys.
Later.